So I'm going to talk about the proof that the Democratic Party has killed the progressive movement. And we just had an example right there, right? Getting called Trumpers for even just talking about this when none of us have ever been a Republican or supported the Republican Party in any way, shape, or form.
Never.
But this is what the Democratic Party has done to the progressive movement. 100%. So let's look at Bernie Sanders. You know what he said, first of all, and then I'll read what I said. He said, no figure in history has done more to undermine American democracy than Donald Trump. His birther movement tried to delegitimize the Obama presidency. His refusal to accept defeat now is trying to undermine the Biden presidency. Goodbye, Trump. This sounds like it was written by a 20-year-old, and of course it likely was. But yeah. But Bernie Sanders, like, let's talk about the truth here, because he's literally whitewashing history. He's whitewashing American history. And if you care about racism and all this other crap, you need to understand that this country has been the way it is far before Trump, and it is in fact the reason he was elected is because we haven't dealt with these issues. Slavery and genocide from the founding presidents, Bernie, Bush wars leading to the death of 2 million plus Iraqis, Obama's drones and regime change wars, Libya, Honduras. Trump's no saint, but the devil is the systemically imperialist and racist foundation this country was built on, and it started long before him.
Heart like there. I need to like that one there. Go ahead.
Okay. And you know, and I wanted to point out somebody else's statement right here. Misty, the Russian bot, Putin's buddy. She said, "My dude." And she did not hold back. You pushed Russiagate for 4 fucking years while ignoring that your own party rigged not 1, but 2 primaries against you. Papa Squat, hypocrite. And this is like Misty really like, you know, going off there on this.
There we go.
Because it's true. I mean, Bernie, you believed in Russiagate for 4 years. You were cheated twice. And another thing I said that I forgot to point out is I said you were silent twice as I and others moved our literal lives to elect you in spite of the Democratic Party admitting in court, like you always say, that they can rig elections. You don't get to pretend, Bernie, that this shit doesn't exist. You really don't. You're done fighting, but we're not. We're still fighting. We're still fighting this fucking corruption here, like all the time now. And it's really sad when you see what Bernie Sanders has said. Thoughts, Pasta, Johnny?
Johnny, I'll let you go first. Because, I mean, my only message is, and I hate to say this, is just go away at this point. Like, what's been going on when he talked about the early counting, when he talked about, oh, these votes coming in late, and then you're going to say, I mean, it's like you not only excused the cheating on you twice, but now you propped it up again. And now you're saying all this shit like people's voices shouldn't be counted. I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like he's just part of that Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Once you're just part of that Democratic Party, you got to play ball with the Democrats. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's sad to see a hero fallen.
Yeah, it really is. And I have a video coming that you guys are going to watch where I literally explain who Ronald Klein is. But I just wanted to point this particular thing out right here, because this section I'm talking about the fraud squad, right? Number 12, Johnny, because despite his background as an investment banker, as you will find out, a corporate lobbyist, a venture capitalist, these Democrats, including progressives, have hailed this as a victory. And this is what I mean by the Democratic Party has killed the progressive movement. We can start with Elizabeth Warren right here. Ronald Klein is a superb choice for chief of staff. He understands the magnitude of health and economic crisis. He literally voted to keep cancer medications away from cancer patients. He lobbied, and he lobbied for asbestos companies to deny them payments as well. So that, sure, Elizabeth. And he has the experience to lead this administration through it. Ron has earned the trust all across the entire Democratic Party.
You know what it reminds me of? When she supported the other establishment in, what state against Dennis Kucinich? She was just, you know what I'm saying? It's like, once again, she went with the establishment pick, the lobbyist of sorts. It's just, she's shown her true colors.
Yep.
And, you know, that's another one. Is that another one who's been put under the pressure, under the microscope?
Yeah, so Cenk Uygur said, it's great news that Joe Biden picked Ronald Klein as his chief of staff. Other choices would have signaled an abandonment of progressives in a fighting posture. Klein is respected by all parts of the Democratic Party. So somehow now we respect the Democratic Party, Chank, and we'll hear everyone out. Good news for the whole country.
Another guy who should just go away.
Yeah.
No, just party loyalist.
Yeah, party loyalist.
Not
He's a
Chank.
hack. Why are you still watching TYT? They're literally MSNBC Light. Half of their staff is featured on mainstream media for a reason. They're not going to invite us over there because we would actually oppose them. Ilhan Omar, what a disappointment. Excellent choice. Congratulations, Ronald Klein. What a blessing to slowly be moving away from this chaos. You notice these people are using the same exact language, moving away from the chaos. This is, guys,
keep hurting you in.
this is literally a PR campaign. This is not anything real. And then the last one we have, of course, the
Your good
queen,
buddy.
Yas Queen
Yas.
AOC. Pasta wore her shirt not that long ago. Good news and an encouraging choice. What the hell is good news about this? He is a venture capitalist, a lobbyist for the worst institutions, the institutions that work against us getting Medicare for all. The institutions like the Walton family. He stood on the board of Third Way, of Near Attendance, Center for American Progress. All of these things about Ronald Klein that you guys are going to learn about in this video that it's coming right after the show. Like I'm telling you guys, it's disgusting that they're praising them. And this is what the progressives, what the squad is doing. They're hailing people like this. Just wait. They're going to continue hailing all of Joe Biden's cabinet picks. You know why? Because Donald Trump. Do you want that? At least we got rid of Donald Trump. So let's bring in the spooks. Let's bring in the CIA, the NSA. Hey, let's be BFF with these people.
They just want everything to return to back in the
Back
Obama
to
days,
normal.
in the normal days. And that, if everybody asks, why did we get Donald Trump? Barack Obama. Plain and simple.
Yep.
Okay.
Plain and simple.
People were not okay with the status quo. We thought we were getting an anti-imperialist, green, non-banking, American banking. We thought we were getting everything. The guy talked about starting a federal bank. He's talked about going green. He talked about ending the
Not
wars.
people thought.
People, yeah. Well, a lot of people. Well, I mean, when Obama first got in, I was like, oh, yeah, we're getting change. And he was more of the same.
Yeah.
He was the fracker in
100%,
chief.
yeah.
He deported more people than Donald Trump. So when Donald Trump came along, it was definitely a direct spawn of the Obama policies. And what they're trying to do is sheep herd you back into those same people, those same policies. And people are holding on to their breath. I think Bernie Sanders is going to be the labor secretary. They're still holding on to that, fam. But this is ridiculous. And the fact that AOC and Ilhan Omar are propping this up, the fact that they were all silent on the ballot harvesting, which turned out to be
silent on Assange, silent on all
the
of this.
whistleblowing.
Literally picking fights with Tulsi Gabbard, who's the only one that literally issued any sort of legislation that's like worth looking at. And now Ben Norton, okay? He said, this is just funny because this is what I mean by the progressive movement, with quotes, because I don't consider them progressive. So somebody posted this picture of AOC saying fake socialism versus real socialism between AOC and Evo Morales. Okay. And so Nathan J. Robinson, who is, I think he writes for Current Affairs, has had bits in Jacobin, said both are socialist. I don't think we do ourselves any favors by saying that one of the prominent left politicians in America, who is despised by the Democratic Party elite, is a quote fake socialist. Evo and AOC are both important, courageous leftists. Now
We know who Nathan Robinson is. We know
AOC
who Nathan Robinson
isn't a leftist. Okay, I will say that she is a progressive in America. Progressive like that. She's definitely not Nancy Pelosi, but she hasn't really opposed her, has she? Not really. Okay, so Ben Norton said, you have no idea what you're talking about. Evo Morales is a revolutionary socialist and staunch anti-imperialist who honored the anniversary of the Bolshevik Revolution right before he was overthrown in a U.S.-backed military coup that milquetoast sock dem AOC did nothing to oppose. This is so misleading, patronizing, and false. You can't build socialism in a poor, formerly partially colonized country that wasn't able to develop itself through industrialization. That's why Bolivia's party calls itself Movement Toward Socialism. And this is something I got to point out, okay? The global South, right? A lot of people come in here and talk about socialism doesn't work. Well, why isn't it working in a lot of countries like the global South, like Bolivia and Venezuela fully? Because we don't let them. We sanction the hell out of them. We extract their resources. We bully them and because they don't want to be under our boot. And then we name Nordic countries. Oh, they have social democracies, huh? It's like, are we attacking and sanctioning Denmark, the Netherlands? No, we're not. So apart from the economic differences. You can't compare that. There's also obviously this racial element. And Jonny and I have talked about it multiple times. We cannot let these people give Medicare for all, give a single payer and all these resources in a third world country ruled by an indigenous man. America's, come on, we're just not going to allow that.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of conversations about this going forward too as well, where we have to go. Because I was talking to a friend of mine who was a Republican and was talking about he says all the time. I said, the main thing is we have all this money. Okay, money's fake, first of all, if you learn MMT, but all the money with the monetary system we have is used to go towards the military, whatnot. All I'm saying, and if you want to call it socialism, communism, whatever, I want to support labor. I want to cut that money by 3/4 and take it and bring it home. And he's like, well, that's not socialism. That's social programs. I said, okay, but that's what I mean. We're splitting hairs when we get to the isms, the socialism, the communism, the capitalisms, whatever. Let's sit down and come up with a system where we have social safety nets, where we don't have homeless people. Let's come to a system where we're not going over all around the globe telling people what to do. Let's have fair elections so that we get the populism choices we want. I'm fighting for populism more than anything because I believe at the end of the day, people don't want to see other people suffering. We don't want to see other people starving. And we want to see people helping each other and living together and loving. So whatever you want to call it. But don't compare AOC to Evo Morales in any way, shape, or form. AOC said she'll defer to the caucus leadership when it comes to foreign policy. She hasn't said anything, so she stinks on foreign policy. She said nothing about these elections, none of the elections, even when she was called out by Tulsi after Ilhan and AOC were having fun poking at Tulsi. Tulsi apologized and said, but what about ballot harvesting? Why won't you silent on that? So she doesn't care about our elections. She's a pro-censorship person. I mean, this woman is not like...
Has said zero on Assange.
Zero on Assange. Nothing. I mean, so let's stop comparing apples to oranges over here. AOC is the Yas queen, sheep herding people into the party that doesn't stand for anything that a lot of us true progressives stand for.
And just to finish up with Norton's tweets here, he said, being a revolutionary socialist head of state in the global south, like we were saying, like Evo Morales, is nothing like being a mild social democratic lawmaker in the murderous imperial core, especially one who doesn't in any way actually materially oppose imperialism like AOC.
She doesn't.
In fact, MSNBC's favorite celebrity leftist AOC did the opposite of oppose the U.S.-backed far-right coup against Bolivia's democracy. AOC met and posed for a photo with the right-wing imperialist who supported the coup. So, I mean, there it is again. He is pointing out these obvious discrepancies with AOC, and that to me is like the biggest thing is like she has not been great on foreign policy. She has in fact shown that she is an imperialist through her foreign policy, and that is the very definition that is not like Evo Morales. Evo Morales, we helped coup the guy. Like, come on.
Goes on Trump's scorecard,
that goes
guys.
on Trump's scorecard.
That goes on Trump's scorecard. Out there, who people are like, oh, well, you know, it's a no. They were trying to have a fair and honest election, and we have to stop demonizing people. Like I said, everybody on the left calls everybody on the right a fascist. Everybody on the right calls everybody on the left a communist. Let's just freaking stop. Sit down and have some goddamn conversations and get some stuff that matters to all of us. You know what I'm saying? And
some of us are actually, but that's why I laugh, because it's like the Democratic Party doesn't have a single freaking socialist.
And that last picture with AOC, that's damaging. Yeah. That's damaging, ladies and gentlemen. She's standing behind the corporations that want to go in there and rape them of their lithium. We'll coup who we want to coup. That's the kind of freaking picture she's taking right now. That's what she's staying there. That's why she's so weak on foreign policy, civil liberties, and regime change wars.
And did she make a mistake? Yeah, and she should. Like, that's the thing. I expect more from my Congress people. If I know that, how do you not know that?
Exactly.
How do you not know what's going on there?
Well, she knows, fam. She knows. She knows who breads her butter, who butters her bread.
So, Simp Cedar,
great guy, love him.
Posted, he said, came across this gem of Ilhan Omar speaking of her reluctance to support Bhuttar's campaign in unseating Mama Bear. And now this is really rich, because let's read a little bit about what she said. I started on the top left corner, Jonny, and I'm just going to read a little bit, blah, blah, blah. You write affectionately about Nancy Pelosi in this book, talking about Ilhan's book. You recount, for instance, a story about how you're sleeping on an airplane and she covers you with a blanket as you slept. I was surprised by this, because in the past she has dismissed the Green New Deal as the the green dream or whatever. She's criticized Medicare for all. She's literally applauded Trump's neocon foreign policy. She's funded his concentration camps and endless wars, and I could go on. Your colleague, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, was interviewed by Glenn Greenwald of The Intercept in 2018 before she was elected, and she was asked if she would support efforts to oust Nancy Pelosi and other House leadership. She was clear and said, I think we need new leadership. Do you support the ousting of Nancy Pelosi with a more progressive leader? She says, Ilhan Omar says, we don't have an opportunity to really predict what the outcome of the next election cycle is going to be. Alexandria and myself both voted for Nancy Pelosi to be our speaker because we ultimately believed in having her as a speaker would give us the best chance in fighting this administration and holding it accountable. And it's interesting that you mentioned how I described Nancy in the book with the list of things that you mentioned about her stances. And I think it is important for us to remember those things are not indicative of how somebody would behave if somebody were sleeping next to them, blah, blah. So she's like, she's obfuscating.
Yeah.
And on the next one is, I do think that there's a bit of tension, though. You're one of the most progressive members of Congress. And I think that if you actually want to pass a progressive agenda, at some point, you need leadership that isn't actively opposed to it. And based on the policies that I mean, the Green New Deal, Medicare for All, Trump's foreign policy, concentration camps, endless wars, she supported the Patriot Act. She knew about CIA torture during the Bush administration and remained silent. And there's more. And so I'm just a little bit puzzled why you support her or why you wrote so favorably about her in the book. And she said, because in the book, it's describing, an instance in which I had the opportunity to be traveling with the speaker, and I'm someone who sort of knocks out when in planes, and it really stood out to me in a way that there was this exchange between the speaker and myself. You can certainly have great respect for people who might not be in agreement with you on everything in regards to policies that you can advocate for. I guess that doesn't apply to people on the right for her. Okay, so on the next, the person says, right, and she says, but there is a commonality that we can share, and there is an opportunity for us to talk about that and to celebrate those things. Again, hypocritical. Sure, but do you support the ousting of, we don't live in a world where everything is black and white? No, we don't, Ilhan. Right, I get that, but do you support the ousting of Nancy Pelosi with a more progressive leader? And she says, I do think it's important for us to fight to make sure that there is more progressive leadership in Congress. Okay, now will you be endorsing progressive challenger Shahid Buttar, who will be facing off against Nancy Pelosi in the general election in November? If not, why not? And she says, I have not endorsed against a sitting colleague of mine. It is something I work on and try in the process of trying to really respect the work that we do together as colleagues. So it sounds like you're not willing to say that you would support Nancy Pelosi being replaced by a progressive. Oh, in leadership, you mean? Yes. No. Well, in Congress. That's for the people in her district to decide. Well, you can't tell me that you or AOC or anyone else are not endorsing candidates outside of your own district, right? We are endorsing candidates outside of our district. I haven't endorsed a challenger to any of my colleagues. So, long story short, as you guys can see, she and the squad, obviously, they refuse to endorse progressive Democrats, right, against establishment Democrats, okay? Flat out, she's saying that. Of course, AOC, in that interview with Glenn Greenwald in 2018, said something differently because she wasn't in Congress. She and Tulsi were friends. She was like, oh, I'll support your off-ad. I can't wait to work with you. Yeah. Fast forward when she comes in, nope, she completely shifts. She completely becomes Nancy Pelosi's little daughter, Nancy's mama bear. They're not fighting for progressives either. Progressives, so why do you continue to support them? Why are you repeating the same mistakes? Nip it in the bud right now. We don't need more Barack Obamas. We don't need more people like that to sheep herd people back into the Democratic Party. We don't need more liars and people who are hypocrites. They're showing you who they are. Believe them. Believe them.
That's Hillary Clinton. When they tell you who they are,
yeah, Hillary.
Believe them.
I'm using that against you.
Hillary Clinton. And it's the truth right there. I wonder what Shahid feels now that he maybe got a hold of this. And that's something that, really bothered me. The fact that he was so aligning himself with the squad, was said, if he gets in office, those are the people more likely he can work with ideology-wise. But you can see they're not supporting you. You know what I'm saying? And these people who got through right now, I question them letting AOC get through and why they didn't fix the election. If it was Crowley, I question these things because it just seems kind of odd that all these people that we sent there to oppose the establishment have just simply joined it.
They capitulated to it, and frankly, there's no progressives coming in there. No. Not in my book. Nope. Not when it comes to foreign policy. Nope. Not when it comes to the security state. Nope. Not when it comes to who they're praising now and the freaking same narratives that they're spouting. That we don't have friends in D.C., guys. Sorry, we don't.
Dick Medhurst said you have 0 friends in D.C.
That was a great article by Current Affairs. It's Eli Massey. Have you guys heard of him before?
No, but like I said, Current Affairs is the one where the other guy also writes for. So they're a mishmash of people.
Oh, yeah, but those were like good pressing questions.
That was a good pressing question. That is how you press a politician. Oh, completely. Well, it's because when I'm on a plane, I pass out. Who the fuck is talking about you passing out on a plane? That's not what we're talking
Mama Bear,
here.
put a blanket
we're
on
talking
her.
about, will you support a progressive against Pelosi? No, she won't.
I'm willing to throw away the fact that she supported warmongering policies and everything like that. Because, she put a blanket on me,
Like, I mean, that sums it up. Oh, she put a blanket on me. And then why doesn't that apply, Ilhan, to people who are Republicans?
Yeah.
Like, you're like, so it's okay for these warmongers who call themselves Democrat to, like, literally just because they put a blanket on you? What if a Republican came and do that? Are you going to reject the blanket because they're a Republican? I mean, it's not consistent. You have to be consistent. If you're gonna, fine, we can find commonality with people. Sure, we can, but then be consistent. It goes across party lines in general, and that's not what she's doing.
I like the way the dude laid everything out that she stands for with Donald Trump and said all these things. Like, all these things. Are you willing to oppose her? Because those are the things you were elected to do, fight for. You mean in leadership? Like, she trying to deflect.
Yeah.
Here's a good Rasheed now.
So Rasheeda's another one, by the way. A lot of my Palestinian friends do not trust Rasheeda on when it comes to Israel-Palestine. So that's a red flag right there. So this is what she says. We're not going to watch this, but basically this commentator said maybe we can get back to normal. But what's normal? When Obama was president, I was marching for Trayvon Martin, fresh out of college. And she said she's right. It wasn't normal to kill black folks before Trump came along, and it shouldn't be now that he won't be the president. Okay, so first of all, what? So black people didn't die under an Obama presidency? Are you fucking kidding me? Flint, Michigan, literally Black Lives Matter was formed under Obama's presidency. What the hell are you talking about? Now, is the media more focused on it now? Is it happening? Were people empowered by Donald Trump's rhetoric? Absolutely, he empowered people with his rhetoric. Nobody is denying that. But the reality is, you saying that black people just like insinuating that they didn't die under Obama is completely false. Not to mention the Libya. And I guess only black people in America matter as well. It's just this hypocrisy that we keep seeing over and over again from people like Rasheeda. This whole line like Trump bad, Trump's the devil, Trump this. Trump may be bad, but literally what you are putting in office is just as bad, if not worse. And you're pretending that is so much better. And that's not only detrimental to people everywhere, it's detrimental to yourself and to any sort of progressive legislation you want to get through.
Yeah. And this next part, when you talk about the people they're bringing in, but it's so funny because the transition team, we didn't talk about it when we played the Sidney Powell. A guy who sits on the board member of Smartmatic is in the transition team of Joe Biden. Yep. Guess who else is part of the team that Joe Biden's bringing on? Here goes another one.
So this one really gets to me, right? Especially as an immigrant. Cecilia Munoz, who defended family separations under Barack Obama, has joined the Biden transition team, okay? And like I said, I'm going to be going over all of these people. But Cecilia Munoz said, this is what she said. Well, first of all, during her time in the White House, she justified Obama's harsh immigration enforcement policies, including the deportations of thousands of Central American children and its decision to kill an executive order that would have halted these deportations, by the way. And she was interviewed in 2011, and she said, at the end of the day, when you have an immigration law that's broken and you have a community of 10 million, 11 million people living and working in the United States illegally, some of these things are going to happen, even if the law is executed with perfection. There will be parents separated from their children. We don't have to like it, but it is a result of having a broken system of laws. And the answer to that problem is reforming the law. And again, so she was completely supportive, justifying these actions. Why didn't you hear about Barack Obama having the highest deportations of any president in the world? Why didn't you hear about him and his administration building these cages? Why didn't you hear about his administration having Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State, not just Libya, but we're talking about Honduras, causing the civil unrest in these countries, causing the migration into the United States? Why didn't you hear about that? Oh, because the mainstream media wasn't exposing Obama at every turn, just like they're exposing Donald Trump. That's the thing. That's why you didn't hear about it. People didn't know. I talked to one of my friends the other day. She was like, I had no idea, like, that this was even true. Oh my God. Like, and this is, people didn't know because the media didn't want you to even know.
Yeah.
And so the reality is, when these people were fucking like saying, oh, you don't care about the children, you don't care about the kids in cages, I'm doing this for the children, I'm doing this for my people of color, for all these people. No, you're not. You're doing this to feel better about yourself, because you didn't fucking know that Obama did the same exact thing, and now you want to sort of put like a nice little bow on it and wrap it up in a box and put it away. And that's why you did it. You did it for yourself, not because it made any difference. Joe Biden is part of the administration that caused so many people now to come into this country, their country's destroyed because of our foreign policy, and nobody gives a fuck about that on the left. And I'm just so sick and tired of them using this card, especially as an immigrant to this country. I'm so fucking done with it.
That's a fee rant, and the reason why it's not talked about too is it's the posters we have. We have them hanging up. The big sleep. Everybody went to sleep when Obama became the president and stuff. You know, there was even a place, you know, where you couldn't attack him, because if you did attack him, you were looked upon as racist. You know what I'm saying? Especially like,
and that happened too.
Yeah, it happened to me, because at first I loved Obama. You know, Kucinich and Gravel were my first two choices. After they went away, I supported Obama. I went and saw him speak. I cried hearing him speak. I believed in him, and he just lied to us in every step of the way. But when I tried to criticize him, all of a sudden the attacks I got, and big up to, right there it is, the Zago Brothers and Lucio. You know what I'm saying? That's the work right here. Now, what you don't see is in that darkness behind Obama's right shoulders in the back, we have Johnny, Fiorella, all the election integrity activists who were just hiding. We didn't go to sleep. We were just working in the darks the whole time. And now we're here, and we're going to expose this shit. But this is true right here. When Obama became president, everybody went to brunch. Everybody went to sleep. Occupy, Standing Rock, prison reform, all these people, they went to sleep. And the fact that this stuff is rising up to the top, and seeing Biden putting all these same characters back in place, it's beyond alarming.
Yeah, and I just want to say that the people, you know, people went to sleep, but it was also the fact that Obama was a black president, and he did receive a lot of racism from the right. That is undeniable. Nobody's going to deny that. But it was, in fact, that has caused more of that racism, because Obama was the black imperialist Fred Hampton warned us about. And so if Obama hadn't been an imperialist, you wouldn't see all of these people coming with this hatred towards this guy. Yes, there is some racism in there, but it is that racism is also underlying the fact that he was an imperialist. He screwed a lot of people, a lot of working class white people, like literally lost everything, okay, along with all working class people in general. And that was due to these neoliberal policies that had been pushed since Reagan and before. And that's just a result of that. And now we have progressives shouting, "Oh, yay! We're this is great. This is we're removing the chaos. We're bringing, like, this is great." No, this is going back to the very same conditions that elected Donald Trump, and you are uplifting it. And if you are doing that, you are no friend, you are no ally, you are no progressive. Period.
And I just want to say that they made it a blanket attack. In other words, there were people who were attacking racially, but there were some people who were being just objectively attacking him, saying, like, you know, Michael Tracy with Maxine Waters, when he caught her out there saying, what about the foreign policies of Obama and whatnot? And she's like, I don't want to talk to another Obama hater, blah, 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 blah. And she kind of like lumped him in with his foreign policy questions with people who were attacking him on the birther movement, whatnot, and everything else, you know.
And that's what Bernie said. I mean, he's just putting this blanket statement, oh, the birther movement. Yeah, sure, that's true. But what else was going on that you're not mentioning?
Yeah. Comrade Misty Putin.
I had to feature her again, and this is just something
She's
that
on fire,
people, absolutely. These people are Biden's putting these people in the administration, right? Tax filings reveal that Biden's cancer charity spent millions on salaries and zero on research. And of course, you guys can look into that as well. I'm not going to spend much time on it right now, but these are the people that Joe Biden is putting in his administration. And to me, the biggest, most scary thing right now is the encroaching censorship that we have. Of course, the New York Post. Why are you using the New York Post, Fiorella? Blah, 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 blah. Because, again, New York Times, Washington Post, all these people, they're not talking about this stuff at all. You cannot even hear it. They censored the New York Post on Twitter. Did you guys forget to protect Joe Biden? So here it is. Joe Biden's transition official wrote an op-ed advocating free speech restrictions. This should send alarms and bells, because this is going against anything that any sort of Assange person might want. Anything against media, journalists. We're all going to be censored. We're seeing it right now. You should take a look at what YouTube is pulling out right now. But the transition team leader for U.S.-owned media outlets wants to redefine freedom of speech and make it, quote, hate speech a crime. Richard Stengel, and this guy, like I said, I'm going to go over who this guy is the Biden transition, quote, team lead for the U.S. Agency for Global Media, the U.S. government media empire that includes Voice of America, the Middle East Broadcasting Networks. I'm sure that they're very accurate. And Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty. Stengel, an Obama administration alumnus, wrote last year in a Washington Post op-ed, of course, that the U.S. freedom of speech was too unfettered and that changes must be considered. He said, all speech is not equal, and where truth cannot drive out lies, we must add new guardrails. I'm all for protecting the thought that we hate, but not speech that incites hate. And so Stengel offered 2 examples of the speech that he had an issue with, Quran burning and the circulation of, quote, false narratives by Russia during the 2016 campaign. And he said, even the most sophisticated Arab diplomats that I dealt with did not understand why the First Amendment allows someone to burn a Quran. Why, they asked me, would you ever want to protect that, Stengel wrote. So again, he just goes on to outline why, blah, blah, blah. And he also worked as a paid MSNBC contributor. And he literally left, of course, to work in the Joe Biden team. So just so you guys know, these are the people that Joe Biden is putting in his cabinet. And like I said, we're going to go into it more. But it is absolutely scary that people are saying we voted out fascism. No, you guys just literally just replaced one form of it with another. And this one is even worse because it's cryptic and it sneaks up on you and people think they're fine and they're not. And the last thing I just want to read. Can I say something though, too?
It's also just, it also, once again, you can see what they're doing as far as they're playing on the progressives' emotions, their feelings.
Yep.
They're using that like, hey, we're trying to stop hate speech. And you're like, yeah, we should stop that. But when you do that and you give them the keys to the kingdom and you give them permission to start censoring everything, then all of a sudden you become a real fascist state. And that's what they're doing right here. So this whole thought process that you're getting rid of, exactly, 1984, you're getting rid of fascism by implementing more fascism. And you could just look at the numbers. You know, Silicon Valley and big tech, they gave Biden 16 million. They gave Trump less than 1 million. Okay, that area alone for me and everything they were doing with the censorship for the New York Post and everything going on, it's just a red flag. And ladies and gentlemen, you have to wake up to freedom of speech. And this tweet you got right here should be the tweet of the century right here. Especially the last sentence was like one of those, whoa, fall off the seats. Go ahead, girl.
I was just going to say, progressives are so busy hating Trumpers that they fail to realize they're both being screwed by the system. And instead of going after the oligarchy, they focus on attacking powerless and ignorant people. It took one election cycle for Democrats to turn progressives into liberals. And I firmly believe this, that the Democratic Party has succeeded in turning a lot of progressives into liberals. We saw the whole squad. I just outlined it for you. And apart with the squad are the people who follow them and Bernie without any sort of cognitive difference and being able to look at nuance and being able to look at things. I will always, like I said, and I've said many times, be thankful to Bernie for showing us and shedding the light and for really bringing about even this discussion and bringing about the progressive movement. That is something that I will never criticize Bernie for. I will always hail him for that particular issue. But I'm no disciple. I'm no sycophant. I will criticize him when he is wrong. I will criticize progressives when they are wrong. And the reality is too many people are not doing that because they want to believe in this fantasy that we're succeeding, and that's not the case.
By the way, super chat contribution, Miller Saint says sad even. Thank you. Go ahead, Johnny.
So fam, what separates us from those people? You know, like what is it? So it's like we're not party loyalists, right?
Right.
We criticize both Democrats and Republicans. What else is there?
Well, for us, I think for what we do is we follow the truth no matter what. Like, so if the truth is that progressives are lying, we're going to say it. If the truth is Republicans are lying, we're going to say it. If the truth is that the Democrats are lying, we're going to say it. It doesn't matter what ideology you belong to because we follow the truth. And the truth has no ideological preference. The truth is the truth no matter what. And so that's the difference. And it's very, very hard to do that. People always say, well, we want independent media. We want non-biased media. But they don't. Most people want people who think like them. Most people want bias. Exactly. And so when you're not, and you have people coming from both sides attacking you, you realize that this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is what real media would be doing. We would be having a discussion of ideas and ideologies. I don't agree with everything Pasta says, and he sure doesn't agree with everything I say, but that's the thing. We are able to have this discussion and put it out there for people to see. This is why a lot of our followers are not necessarily always on the ultra left, and they're definitely not on the ultra right. And so we have a lot of independent thinkers who follow us. And the thing is, you have to be independent in your thought. You cannot just simply be ideology or party over truth. You have to be truth over everything else.
To easily say it, Johnny, really quick, we base our opinions on what is said. When it comes to the progressives, they base their opinions on who says it. You know what I'm saying? Whoever says, and you always say, oh, that's really Giuliani. You can't say anything, trust anything he says. Oh, that's this person, Steve Bannon. You can't trust anything he says. Oh, that's Donald Trump. You can't trust anything he said. So they base their opinions and they follow based upon who says it, which is very tribalish. We base our opinions and our ideology on what is said. The words, balls and strikes. We say it all the time. You can't be hypocritical. You have to call the pitch for what it is. If it's out of the strike zone, it's a ball. You can't say it's a strike just because it was said by the left, especially with Bernie Sanders saying all this shit right now. We're deciphering right now. That's a progressive who moved us in this way, which he talked about it. But what he is saying, what is said, is what has to be taken to task.
Yep.
Not who says it. There's so many people who are going to believe just what Bernie says because it's Bernie Sanders.
Right.
You can't do that. So you have to base your ideology on what is said, not who says it.
And you're deifying these
line.
people when you shouldn't be deifying them. You're like, you know, like that's not what you should be doing.
Yeah.